I'm focused on the spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, hello. This is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about apparently Selena Gomez just bursted into tears on camera. Well, not bursted into tears. I mean, she was crying on camera about the deportations and stuff. And she's an actress, not a very good one, but she could be legitimately upset. But I don't want to talk about that. JD Vance had an awesome interview. When people were like, why did he go on Face the Nation? And why do they go to these liberal places after they do, all the crazy stuff on the campaign trail? And that's a legitimate question, I think. But we know that JD Vance still does awesome when he does these interviews. So we'll be talking about that. Also, we'll be talking about Donald Trump totally owning Colombia. So, oh, already got a hot comment. Why ain't she out there crying for 300,000 children Biden lost? Apparently, I think they said over the weekend that Trump and them found 80,000 of them. So, I'm assuming that many of them just kind of weren't checking in, or they weren't keeping track of like how people were being checked in. So, it's got to be part of it, because I'm like, I don't know how else they'd locate the 80,000 that quick. But if you have children, you should definitely be checking in on them, so at least we have some, I don't know, return accountability. So things are going good, I think, for the Trump administration so far. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys, go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost a stream, run my site, all the good stuff you guys can support. I very much do appreciate you guys. I also encourage you guys to check out my store, check out different merch that's available at the store, like my black tea mug. I got this, I'm my money, my business t-shirt. It's cool, Frederick Douglass, the Constitution is a Glorious Liberty document, and all kinds of stuff. I got different books you guys can check out as well. And I see some people are going and reading my stuff on KDP. No, it's Kindle Select. Is that what it is? When it's when you can like subscribe and read through books. All of my nonfiction books are available to read that way. All my fiction books are available to read that way. The only things that aren't on there is of course, Guys Blatantly Against Abortion, and Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. So I encourage you guys to get those however you like to read, but you guys can find that stuff on Amazon. So, you guys know that I did that election night video with my sisters, and people are still commenting on it all the time. And they say the craziest stuff, and I've talked about some of the crazy stuff that people say, but there's still people saying stuff like, what about now? Because they want to know, because people would ask, do you regret your vote? And I think maybe 2 weeks ago did a video saying, hey, I'm not going to regret my vote because I knew all the information and I don't like Kamala Harris. To just summarize it, I had enough information on Trump and Kamala. I really, really didn't like her. And the only way I would regret voting for Trump is if he like pulls off his face mask, revealing that he was Kamala Harris the whole entire time, you know. So I'm not gonna regret voting for him over her. I'm glad she lost. Maybe I'm too elated that she lost. Like, I take pleasure in her misfortune, and maybe I need to pray about that. I don't know, but I'm just glad that she lost. I'm not going to regret the fact that she lost. And so someone wrote a comment on that video saying, well, what about now? And I'm just floored, guys. It's been a week, literally a week. I was in DC a week ago for the inauguration. Right? It's Monday. It is Monday, is it not? Like, it's been a week. 1 week. And what am I supposed to regret? What am I supposed to regret? Am I supposed to regret him pardoning the 23 pro-lifers? Am I supposed to regret mass deportation? No, nope. Nope, not me. Not me. Nope, sorry. Am I supposed to regret the birthright citizenship thing? No, I don't think. I don't know legally that those chances are. I would say they don't look great, but they have an argument that the original intent in the different conversations about the 14th Amendment weren't supposed to apply to, like, you plop on land and bloop, bloop, you have a baby. It's a U.S. citizen. So it's been wrongly interpreted. So if the court decides to go back on how it's interpreted, that's a huge leap of how they would change stuff. And conservative courts, they don't tend to make huge leaps like that, especially with Roberts, like, you know, the Chief Justice. So I just don't, a big leap like that, I don't know what will happen. Trump will get to say that he tried. It'll be a good talking point. I think, like, as far as what we can do legally with our actual legislators, we should actually advocate to change the amendment, because you don't want someone to come and undo the executive order, but since they challenged the executive order very quickly in court, it's probably going to make it to the Supreme Court, and they'll settle it. Now, there's a big risk, I guess, that the Supreme Court will overturn it. But I don't understand all these people fighting against birthright citizenship. Like, you're in America. You're a citizen, period. Okay, cool if that's what the Constitution means, and a plain reading without any kind of context would seem to mean that, without like really detailing and going into the jurisdiction part. But why do you want that to be the case? Like, that seems like something, obviously, that's a big hindrance to our national security, to our immigration, where people can cross the Rio Grande like 9 months and just plop a baby out, risking their lives, risking their babies' lives and their children, whoever came with them, so they could have a baby. Chinese nationals or whoever getting surrogates so they can birth their babies in the U.S., because our laws on that is real lax. And then they have a baby and it's a U.S. citizen. They have dual citizenship. Like, why should we do that? That's not how other countries handle citizenship. So even if you are staunchly like, this is the way it's supposed to be read, you know, why would you want that to be the law of the land? So all these people like really offended or advocating against that, I don't, why? It seems like totally a bad thing. You know, if you benefited from it, I can understand why you'd be happy about benefiting from it, but that doesn't mean you'd want going forward that it should keep happening, because you don't know what kind of people are, again, plopping their babies in the country. There's someone did a TikTok and they said birthright, it was a Black woman, and she said birthright citizenship is like, I come over your house and I'm 9 months pregnant and I have a baby on your floor and I want the rights to your house. She's like, that's what birthright citizenship is. So if people think about it, I think it's a great thing to campaign to actually like change without like some kind of legislation. And I don't know if the courts are going to do something that sweeping. I just don't know. I'm not saying that they don't have a good argument. I'm just saying that would be a huge turn from what we've done. So I don't know. But anyway, what am I supposed to be upset about that? Am I supposed to be upset because these people think that he overturned the Civil Rights Act? That's not what Trump did. Trump didn't do an executive order to overturn the Civil Rights Act. People believe all kinds of crazy things. Am I supposed to be upset because Trump said there's two genders? Just because I guess there's stupid people out there who think that we're all female at birth. That's not what happens. What am I supposed to be upset about? Like there's some candidates that I don't like or I don't care for going through confirmation hearings, you know. But I was talking to somebody last night about it who was saying a couple people they didn't like too much, and I said, well, the thing about Donald Trump though, you know, even if he does pick somebody that's not good, at least we know he will fire them. Joe Biden didn't want to fire anybody. Afghanistan happened. Nobody got reprimanded, anything like that. So at least we know Trump, you don't do a good job or do the job he thinks how you ought to be doing it. He's going to get rid of you and then he's going to blast you on Twitter or something. And, you know, so we at least know that he'll get rid of folks and not hold on to terrible folks for forever if they're genuinely doing a bad job. It's one thing if the media just doesn't like him, but if they're genuinely doing a bad job, making him look bad, the nation will look bad. Yeah, he'll get rid of him. Excuse me. So what exactly am I supposed to be upset about? That has happened in 1 week. Apparently I'm supposed to be upset about the price of eggs just magically now. That's a big talking point. Like as soon as Trump was sworn in, they're like, oh, the price of eggs are high. I thought the groceries were going to go down. And just really stupid narratives like that. So I don't understand why the left is so thirsty for my regret. Like a week, guys? But people were asking that question before he was even inaugurated. Like, do you regret your vote? For what? For what? Well, the price of groceries are still high. He's not sworn in office yet. Like, what is he supposed to do? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe one of y'all can explain it to me because I don't understand. I don't understand why they're so thirsty for it. And then another thing I'll say before I move on, Democrats have really just played their hand about how racist they are, like with the results of the election. So the election night videos, me and two of my older sisters, and I talk about one sister who worked for the campaign. I'm like, it's her fault. Ha ha. It was very braggadocious. You know, I'm not usually that braggadocious, but spur of the moment, you know, in the hype of everything. And so people have left great comments. People are like, she's our sister now. And then there's been like a lot of negative comments. Mostly I don't know where in the algorithm it fell, but there's been a lot of negative comments for a long time. And so people started saying things like, oh, what happened to your DEI sister? You know, she's out of a job. She still has a job, like as of now anyway. Thanks for being concerned. But why do you assume that she's DEI? Just because she's black? Just because she's black? Guys, I thought you liked DEI. And now you're just assuming everyone who is black is DEI. I thought you were offended by that kind of nonsense. And so it is nonsense, by the way. When you work in politics, there are people who definitely fail up for sure. But in politics, if you grind, you can get pretty far, even without like any kind of college degree or whatever. What matters is the work that you put in and the results that people can see. So when we started getting involved in like 2012. And we went to the Oakland County Republican office and for a debate, and we took a picture and it went pretty viral and stuff. But we started coming around the office, and my sister started volunteering. We went to a Lincoln Day dinner where Trump was speaking at, mainly because we were huge Apprentice fans. And I'm like, we gotta go to this. And I got some like Swarovski earrings. It's like they're pretty big. I'm like, they're gonna see me from where I am. Like, and then my sister Katrina she asked a question during the Q&A, so she did talk to him, and it was a cool night. But my sister started volunteering, and then eventually she was able to get a job at the Detroit office, because they did have a Detroit office for outreach. And so she was over the office, and then she kept grinding, and she ran that office, and eventually they made her over like a couple different counties in Michigan, as far as like handling the field operation of like 3 different counties. And I think it was Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, maybe those 3, which are big counties. And that was the time Trump won. So she was working there at the Michigan Republican Party, and I was working at the Michigan Republican Party at the time, and I was the creative director, and my work was stellar. And so she ended up going to DC and working at the RNC. And then she came back for a little bit to run for chair, which we barely lost that race. And she did some consulting work and other stuff. And so eventually, when it came to the job that she had on the Trump campaign, she got a lot of recommendations. She got a lot of recommendations for that job. So not a DEI hire. Not a DEI hire. So that's what people assume, though. Oh, pick up the blackies, I guess, and put them on the campaign. That's not what happened. But people assume, because they're the ones who are actually racist. No, she actually worked for her job and has a resume. And just because someone is a DEI hire doesn't mean that they don't necessarily have qualifications. But that seems to be the assumption that people are kind of making. So anyway. My sister Katrina said they could tell that she's black. Well, we were all together. Gina's very light skinned, but anyway, let's get to some tea. Let's get to some tea. I want to talk about some of these clips with JD Vance. And he did an interview yesterday. And some of the interview, I just have a couple snippets to show you guys, but it's an interesting watch for sure. I love this clip right here. JD Vance, and I've had quite a few conversations about him this week. And one of my sisters at church asked, like, did I like JD Vance and stuff? And she remembered some like negativity about different people were concerned about whether he was a good pick or not. So there were concerns. I voiced concerns, but he just came in and just batted 1,000. Like, every time. He was so good with interviews. And I said, he handled interviews better than anyone would have on Trump's shortlist. Anyone. He's so good at them. Just dismantling what they have to say, not accepting the premise of their questions. He was just fantastic. He said some negative things about Trump in the past, and he was able to very well explain why he had a change of heart. So when those things kept coming up, he could totally dismantle them. And dunk on the mainstream media, because a lot of that was, I'm embarrassed to say that I listened to you guys, the mainstream media, about how you guys were portraying Trump. And then I actually did my own research and found out that, he was actually a pretty good guy, and, so on and so forth. So he was just fantastic. He really pulled his weight. I think he came in first with a pretty negative approval rating. They're like, oh, look at his approval rating for a vice presidential nominee. It's so historically low. And then I think he was the only one who kind of finished above water. but now Trump like has the highest like approval rating that he's like had before. Like people are really excited. You feel optimism with the Trump, term right now. But JD Vance and his story is just incredible. Like people were talking about how amazing it was to see his mom there when he got sworn in. And people are like taking the movie Hillbilly Elegy and showing different clips and then showing his mom there that day just to show like how incredible it was that she was an addict and she got clean. She got to see her son be sworn in that day. I was listening to K-Love last night while I was in the car, and they brought up about how God will reconcile people back together. And that's what they brought up. It's an incredible story. Like, I know people wanted Kamala Harris to be sworn in on, MLK Day, and like, oh, that would have went so hard if the first Black female president was sworn in on that day. And I'm like, but JD has a much more compelling story than Kamala Harris. Much more compelling story. And these people tried to say that he was weird and make fun of him for his success after where he came from. It just made the Democrat Party look stupid and slimy and elitist, and they just were terrible. They were terrible, but JD was great. So anyway, JD is still batting 1,000 and kicking butt and taking names. Now, some people are like, don't reward the mainstream media going on their programs after they did such shady stuff during the campaign and ignore them. I think it's probably fine that JD does, because he does make these people look stupid all the time. And at the end of the day, he's the vice president, and you don't want, people to not have access and basically be a Biden 2.0. Now, that's obviously not the case because they are very accessible. Trump told such a funny story. I'll have to see if I can find it for you guys, about how Biden is just not accessible. We'll start with JD Vance and we'll go from there.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country
founded by country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. But just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Now, I'm going to play this again. I'm going to make this bigger so you guys can see her face. Please look at her face as he's talking to her with this stupid talking point. Like, we are a nation of immigrants or settlers. A lot of people have immigrated. That's true. But that he's right. That doesn't mean that we still have to have stupid immigration policies all these years later that leave us open to criminals and terrorists and all sorts of different stuff, even diseases that we're not checking as people come in, which is crazy, especially during the time of COVID. Like, anyway. Watch her face. Her face is pretty incredible.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by
country.
This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers. But just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world.
Let me see if I can pause it. Like, we're a nation founded by immigrants. like really trying to drive that in there with her face. It's like, I don't know. Watching it, is there like some underlining disdain there that's just creeping out, like poking. Anyway. What's with these whack talking points? Like, are these people journalists or are they activists? You don't have to answer that question. I'm aware of the answer. This one has gone very viral.
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted And then we're literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals
but there are
have been properly
30,000
vetted.
people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary
Do you stand by
concern
it?
as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people
it's
are
not
vetted.
good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted. And many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly, he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted. And because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country. And I think most Americans agree with me.
We'll be back in 1 minute.
The I don't really care, Margaret. It's already memes. I think I've seen memorabilia already, and all kinds of art. The I don't really care, Margaret. People are saying this should be just the anthem, the call. Like, I don't really care. Just don't want them here. Get gone. There was another interesting part where he called out the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. And JD Vance himself is Catholic, but they just have the wrong opinion on it's what weaponized compassion, toxic empathy, where we have just stupid immigration policies and some religious people advocating for really, really stupid policies, even though they do end up hurting other people as well. So let's listen to JD here.
But let me just address this particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their bottom line? We are going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people. Donald Trump promised to do that. And I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border of Joe Biden.
You personally
let them talk about people like Laken Riley who were brutally murdered. I support us doing law enforcement against violent criminals, whether they're illegal immigrants or anybody else, in a way that keeps us safe. But let me just address the
Yeah. Someone said, I am Catholic too. I side with the bishops that have been silenced by the woke Pope. He won't let outsiders into the Vatican. There is a wall. That is true. They do have walls. They do like their walls. So, everybody else seems to understand. Of course, other countries very much understand that you must protect your borders. And there are all kinds of people who get money for resettling and aid and different things. And you can go ahead and question what some people's motivations are. I don't know if it's totally fair to kind of just throw folks under the bus, like all their motives might be tainted. But as I just said, there's a toxic empathy there. There's propaganda videos I could say right now of the news running different stories of people crying because people got raided and it got taken away. Now, from my understanding, because it happened in Chicago, that they're going and arresting criminals. Now, if you came over the border illegally, you did commit a crime. You don't have a right to be here. It's their prerogative if they want to send you back. But the targeting as of now, that the strikes that they're doing are for people who are criminals. And so that's the case. So these folks who are crying, are you crying over someone who took advantage and came across the border and then also committed some crimes? or came over here fleeing like pretty terrible charges like homicide, because that's been the case too with some of these folks who've come over here and been arrested recently. So we have to care about people who could be harmed or have been harmed, not just harmed, who've been killed, like Lake and Riley and others, by some of these folks who shouldn't be here. We have to be concerned about people who are put in danger as they're taken up across the border by coyotes, people who have been sexually assaulted coming up from the border, people who are coming up here without family members. And then they're like, oh my gosh, why aren't they with their families? Because they came up here without their family members and people paid the cartel and other folks to get them up here. We have to care about all the drugs that are smuggled in. Like they send in these waves of people. And while the ICE is distracted by these waves of people coming in, they'll bring the drugs in elsewhere. And those drugs will be laced. They'll lace, other kind of drugs and stuff with fentanyl, and people will overdose. Like we have to care about all these things. So what is the big impact that's happening here with immigration? And there's stuff beyond that, like resources being directed toward people who shouldn't be here, overwhelming the system. A friend of mine, a mutual friend of mine on TikTok, was responding to someone who felt kind of bad about, people being deported. And so she's like, I'm from Kenya. I came here legally. I had to sign stuff that said I will not be a burden to the United States. She's like, I had to pay my way in, and I had to say that I would not take any kind of aid. Now, people think about these legal, because a lot of people who are against illegal immigration are people who have come here legally. So they know that they had to pay all these lawyers or whatever to get here. They had to wait their turn. They had to take the tests. Okay. They had to do all this stuff. Plus, they had to sign something that said, I will not be a burden to the United States. Like, I won't accept aid and so on. And all these people come here, flood the border, claiming refugee status or whatever after the fact, like not waiting the port of entry, just came in and like, oh, well, refugee status. They get sent to all these different places, and then they get all these resources from New York or wherever, get put up in hotels, get cards where they get to spend money, get put into the school systems, and kind of disrupts the flow of things. It's a huge disruption. Or think about people who come in and then they undercut folks. Like I heard a story about a guy who had a construction company, but he has to do like Ubers and other stuff to make ends meet because you have people coming over here who are undercutting them and their business. There's just huge impacts to all this stuff. So I gotta understand seeing someone crying on TV because someone was arrested. But I saw, let me see if I mark this video. We don't have to watch the whole thing, but I just kind of want you to know what I'm talking about. But I saw this video of this woman crying, and I'm not talking about Selena Gomez yet. We'll get to her. And all I could think of was Beverly, the woman who we played the video last week of the pro-life woman who violated the FACE Act and was sentenced to jail, to federal prison. Sorry. Prison and jail aren't the same thing, as Cat Williams would say. She got sent to federal prison, and she was separated from her baby. She was separated from her husband, and she was separated from her child. And she wrote on Twitter, like, because people were waiting for her to respond and say all this kind of stuff, and I guess get back to activism, explaining how her life was and how things have been. And she's like, right now I gotta just kind of relax, and I'm here with my husband and my child. Give me some time. And she's like, my child will not let me out of her sight. I can imagine. You wake up one day and mommy's gone. Mommy is gone. People go through it all the time. Folks are arrested, and I just don't see all these tears for folks about people who commit crime and they're separated from their children. It happens every day in our legal system. But it's just particularly illegal immigration where people are all up in arms running these kinds of stories.
It's where Yelitsa Marquina fights through her pain and tears after she says her father, Andres Marquina, was arrested from his Waukegan home early Sunday morning by immigration and customs enforcement agents. She says the 44-year-old grandfather came to the U.S. from Mexico nearly 30 years ago.
They will open the door because they thought maybe one of us were in trouble or something happened to us. He never did anything that would have been nice.
Yulitza, who was born in the U.S., is one of many people now seeking legal help at Pastor Julie Contreras' place of worship.
I had a 4-year-old crying, fearing deportation. That is not making America great again.
Their concerns coming as ICE agents began to sweep through the Chicago area from Berwyn, where this cell phone video was captured, to Albany Park, where a Guatemalan immigrant spoke to ABC7 while asking us to hide his identity.
I opened the curtain and saw that it said police.
Yeah, so I read a couple stories trying to figure out what specifically, if there was any charges against her dad. Maybe the story's a little too fresh. Now I heard a story the other night about someone who was working with somebody who'd been in the country for like 40 years and never tried to become a citizen. And they were here illegally, but they just figured no one would try to deport them. I'm like, that's wild. That's wild. But I guess he was been right for 40 years. But from my understanding, these are targeted strikes as far as them going after different gang bangers and people, drug dealers and all kinds of different stuff. So I don't know if this man has done anything besides illegally coming to the country. If I find that out, I'll let you guys know, because I sure did try to find it before I went live and started like looking up different articles, but I couldn't find anything that said it. But again, they're putting these people crying on TV. I just don't remember ABC News and a CNN, I think, did a story with the same woman. And I'm like, I don't remember y'all putting Beverly crying on TV and being all sad because she would be separated from her child for trying to stop babies from being killed. Like that's her crime, like violating the FACE Act. So a lot of people just, you've taken advantage of America, and you've taken advantage of the American people and our emotions and our empathy for a very long time. And people don't understand why so many Americans kind of get the shaft with so much stuff, or the legal immigrants who had to work so hard, and then people come over here, they're not supposed to be here, and they just get all the adulation, all the help, all the benefits, while people struggling out here after a hurricane and FEMA's like ignoring Trump houses, you know? It's just not computing with Americans. It's not. But if Trump comes in after talking all this smiggity smack and doesn't do stuff with the border, start deporting folks, and they figure, oh no, he's soft like Biden was, you'll just have more people pouring in to the country. You have to actually enforce the law. That is a deterrent. When people know you will enforce the law, the laws of the land that people are breaking and have broken, that is a deterrent. I'm not saying it's going to totally stop people from coming in illegally, but when they know that you'll get sent back, these people believe that they'd be able to stay. And the border was open from all over the world, not just South America. They were coming in through, our southern border, but they're coming from all over the world. people who were coming here illegally were afraid of the people they were traveling with, saying like, "Oh, you guys need to vet these folks better." I'm kind of scared. And I played those videos for you guys. So anyway, let's watch Selena Gomez here, who is been nominated for some awards for that tranny movie about the drug dealer. I think he wanted to be a tranny. That's like a musical. Amelia Perez, 13 Oscars. This girl doesn't act well enough to be in a movie that's nominated for 13 Oscars. And by the way, the movie just seems like it's garbage, and everybody who has seen it has said such. So it's like a woke move anyway, but let's watch this video.
Just want to say that I'm so sorry. Only people are getting attacked. The children. They don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
I don't understand this. She apparently took this down because she was getting a lot of backlash and stuff. But she's an actress. I'm not saying that she doesn't genuinely feel bad about what's going on, isn't genuinely sad about stuff that's going on. Like the report we just watched, the person said in the churches that there's 4-year-olds scared that they're going to be deported. Did you bring a 4-year-old over the border? Like, if they're here, if they're illegally here, you need to like let them know that's fine. And if if a family came over, it is possible that the family will have to go back together, because you certainly don't want to leave the child and families not be together. So I understand if you're in that boat and you came here and America's pretty great. It would be sad to leave. It'd be sad to leave. For sure. So I can understand being upset and crying about it. But it is so weird to just go on and just cry online and expect the clapping and the praise. I saw somebody do a meme with this under this video, and it was someone pointing to themselves in the mirror, and they were at their reflection. And it was like, you go in there and you make it all about yourself. Cause that's what this gives, you know? That you just needed everyone to know that you're sad. So I'm sure there's some of that, other than people just being like, no, we're pro deportation, from the kind of pushback that she's received. But I gotta say, I think it is weird. I know a lot of people go, in their cars or whatever and just cry on camera. I'm not saying I haven't. You guys have seen me cry on camera, but I never intend to do that. Like, there have been times when I wanted to talk about like my mom and stuff, and like doing a TikTok or something. I'm like, this is so weird. Like you all don't need to see that or whatever. Like, I'm going live and I might just start a conversation and it might just bubble up like that. But like when you get to take takes like that, just to be like, okay, let me and go ahead and cry. It's weird. And so many times it just comes off as inauthentic. Now I'd assume if I cried on camera about my mom or whatever on a TikTok, people would assume that's legitimate. But this just doesn't come off like, legitimate. And even if it were, she's still an actress. So people don't know exactly what to believe. I don't think this is great acting, though. It just doesn't, I don't know. Seems a little forced. And maybe, again, it was the start and stop or whatever. I don't know. But people, as someone said from jump, like, where was she crying before with all the other people with the missing children, or just when kids are harmed in general? Like, how, Oh, I found the meme. I did. I liked it. Get in there and make it about you. Yeah, I didn't my sister said I saw that. I didn't know it was Selena Gomez. I didn't know it was her at first because I saw a Fox News report that was talking about it. And the reason why I saw it on my timeline and I didn't like look at it, but the reason why I found out it was Selena Gomez is because when I was scrolling, then I came to this report here. This guy, if you don't follow him, he covers a lot of border stuff. He said somewhere Selena Gomez is sobbing profusely over an arrest of this man. And this man was arrested. He's wanted by authorities in El Salvador for homicide, illicit association, and terrorist organizations. So this non-citizen is pending removal to his home country. So yeah, they were mocking Selena Gomez, and I'm like, oh, that girl was probably Selena Gomez. And so I went and I watched. I'm like, oh, that's totally Selena Gomez. So yeah, it's not all about you and what you want, ma'am. But sorry, folks, want the deportations. They do. And now I'm assuming there's people who thought that he was only going to go after people who came here illegally and then committed crimes. I don't know why. I guess you thought that, but if you came across the border illegally, that is a crime. You violated US law. And our borders was being questioned about it, and they're like, you're just gonna deport people every day, the criminals every day, and it's gonna keep happening? Or like, what if you like basically run out of criminals? And he's just like, if you come over illegally, that is a crime. So if you're in that boat, it sucks. I know people don't want to leave the United States of America. At the same time, we cannot keep rewarding bad behavior, because that's how you just get caravans again and again and again and again. But besides enforcement, Trump's gonna have to go ahead and do something at the wall. And they're going to have to I think the birthright citizenship thing is one of the most important things that you can do to really impact illegal immigration. There's got to be birthright citizenship. I just don't know how it's going to pan out with the executive order, because obviously it was going to be challenged and go to the courts. And I just don't know if the court is going to so widely change our understanding of something that has been around for so long. Now, people could say, well, Roe v. Wade was overturned and kicked back to the states and stuff. Yeah, I think this is a bigger deal. But I think they have an interesting argument. I just find it hard to believe that they'll make that big jump. And Roe v. Wade was always disputed. Like, Roe v. Wade was always considered bad law, even by people who wanted abortion to be legal. Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg sat on the court, obviously, for a long time. She wanted abortion to be legal, but she just thought it should be, in some kind of other right, something out, talking about the right to privacy somewhere in the 14th Amendment. If you like squint really, really, really hard and try to find it, so she wanted women to have abortion. She just didn't like the ruling of, Roe v. Wade. So Trump is right when it's like people wanted it overturned, or people, thought it should be overturned or whatever. People certainly disagreed and didn't think it was great law. They wanted abortion to stay by some kind of other kind of metric or whatever, or method. But that was disputed. Birthright citizenship, I haven't heard those kind of, legal arguments really. And I'm not saying they didn't exist. To me, it hasn't been like as a disputed thing. But they do have an argument. And we'll see what happens. We'll see. But I think regardless, it is very important to change it one way or another. And I've already spoken about how I think Trump could have even just made the case to the American people, and people could have ran on it. Because when you try to defend it, it doesn't make any sense. You can say it's just always been this way. Does it work? Is it working out for you? Do you really think that a Chinese national should be able to get a surrogate and them have their baby and they're just, or someone come over here like about to pop across the Rio Grande and then have a baby on American soil and just incentivize again more bad behavior? Do you really think that's how it ought to work? So anyway, before I go, I got to talk about Trump and how the president of Colombia did not want to take in. I got to show you this meme real quick. I don't really care, Margaret, with JD Vance. So Colombia did not want to take in their illegals. They said that they would not let the planes land. So what did Donald Trump do? He went all kinds of gangsta. So apparently he was golfing. That's the story I heard. I was just informed that 2 repatriation flights from the United States with a large number of illegal criminals were not allowed to land in Colombia. This order, or at least he spelled it right, because they put out an order or something that was not spelled correctly. This order was given to Colombia's socialist president, Gustavo Petro, who is already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States. So I have directed the administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. So there's an emergency 25% tariffs on all goods coming into the United States. In 1 week, 25% tariffs will be raised to 50%. So that was, the tariffs thing, seemed like that was going to be pretty bad. But it is a travel ban, an immediate visa. They're going to revoke the visas of the Colombian government officials and allies and supporters. They're going to sanction all party members, family members, and supporters of the Colombian government. Now this one, it might have had them shaking their boots too. Enhanced customs and border protection inspections of all Colombian nationals and cargo on national security grounds. I was talking to somebody. They're like, no, not our drugs. The IEEPA, Treasury, banking, and financial sanctions will be fully imposed. And these measures are just the beginning. We will not allow the Colombian government to violate its legal obligations with regard to acceptance and return of the criminals they force into the United States. Now, tell me why you would not. Now, I understand why you wouldn't want your people back, but doesn't that look really bad? Oh, we found your people. And they're like, no, we don't want them. We don't want them. We're good. You can. Not only do we not want them, we will not take them. We will not take our people. Bruh, you better take your people and do something with them. You better do something with them. You better do something with them. So immediately they reversed course. And it's so funny because there's all these TikToks from like Harry Sisson and other like leftists who were flipping out about this. People are like, the price of coffee is going to explode. All the flowers are going to go up, which, we get those things from other folks too. Like it would hit their economy obviously worse than it would hit our economy. You get coffee somewhere else. But I don't drink coffee anyway, but but it's like, bro, they're not taking their criminals. What do you want us to do? Just chuck them off the plane? Drop them into the ocean with some sharks? Like wood chipper? Like what do you want us to do with these people? Just let them roam free? Just clog up our prisons? Like what were we supposed to do with them? They have to take their people back. And so you're just bragging about Trump failing, quote unquote? You happy that they won't take back their criminals? Why would people be like braggadocious about that? Like, oh, there's something wrong with Trump's plan. They won't take them. That's a bad thing. I don't care how much you hate Trump. That's a bad thing. You should be upset that they would not take them. But they were just so eager to see Trump bail. And then they're mad about the flowers, mad about the coffee, and how they're Colombia is gonna raise their stuff and do tariffs on US stuff. They immediately back down though. They immediately back down. Immediately back down. Stephen Miller had posted, let's see. The government of Colombia has agreed to all of President Trump's terms, including the unrestricted acceptance of all illegal aliens from Colombia returned from the United States, including the U.S. military aircraft, without limitation or delay. Based on this agreement, the fully drafted IEEPA tariffs and sanctions will be held in reserve and not signed unless Colombia fails to honor this agreement. The visa sanctions issued by the State Department and enhanced inspections from Customs and Border Protection will remain in effect until the first plane load of Colombian deportees is successfully returned. Today's events make clear to the world that America is respected again. President Trump will continue to fiercely protect our nation's sovereignty, and he expects all other nations of the world to fully cooperate in accepting the deportation of their citizens illegally present in the United States. Boom. Just like, that's winning, man. That's the kind of winning that you absolutely do not get sick of. So, good on Trump for that. Good on Trump for laying down the law very quickly, and they reversed course so fast. Like I thought it was 25 minutes. Someone said Ben Shapiro said it was 10 minutes, but that they reversed course. But it's all those weirdos on like TikTok and stuff immediately like, oh, breaking news, Trump is failing, oh, your coffee's, and if they had just waited just a little bit, like, I know you people want to be fast and people want to get their clicks, but now, I mean, I guess they're used to being the butt of the joke, but they're definitely the butts of a lot of jokes now, because immediately they reverse course, man. And Anna Navarro was upset. She's like, the flowers will be so much now. Most of the flowers imported in the U.S. come from Colombia. Happy Valentine's Day, America. Like, do you not care that they won't take their, even if, like, I don't necessarily want to get in a trade war or anything like that. And I don't know how I feel about all this tariff stuff with Trump and his obsession with it, but like, they won't take their criminals. And you're like, bro, but what about the flowers? Which apparently California, they used to grow a lot of the flowers that we would get, but free, different trade agreements made it so that that's an industry that we largely export now, which go and grow flowers here, I guess. But another thing that ticked me off though about seeing them cry about the flower stuff, I remember during COVID when people couldn't run their businesses, and a non-essential business were like these flower shops, and they had to miss Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. I'm like, you guys are trying to put these people out of business, and you guys don't care. So spare me. So yeah, here's a Harry Sisson tweet. Well, Trump just announced huge penalties on Colombia. Everything just got more expensive for you and your family. There are diplomatic ways to work with countries, but instead Trump does crap like this. Yeah, it's called winning, son. Oh, there was an AOC one too. And took like 25 minutes. Colombia backed off. You failed. Anyway, there's one more thing I think I want to show you guys before I let you go. There was a another newscast where a journalist just like could not take the truth. This one's pretty funny. Sorry about that. The computer went dark. It was a battery issue. Sorry. Let me play this. It's my bad, guys. I thought it was plugged in, and it just died like very quickly. Kind of no warning. Sorry. Sorry. Anyway, looks like a lot of you stayed on to see what the heck happened. So thank you. Here's a last video before I let you go.
This is a very different Donald Trump. He's leading a very different administration in the way he's attacking things. And the American public is very much more in line with him than they were at any point during his entire first term.
Well, one I would say correction. This is not a very different Donald Trump. This is a very different Donald Trump as being viewed by voters in this.
In the way he's going about things with Susan Wiles leading things, I think he is, going at things in a much less disorganized fashion, much more organized.
Take me back in history.
Take you back in history. So it was so interesting to me that Donald Trump's first net approval rating of his second term is higher than his entire first term. And I was interested, has that ever happened? Has the second term net approval rating in the first month, have you ever had a higher rating than any net approval rating during the entire first term? Donald Trump is the only.
I have a really hard time believing this.
This is 100% true. I went back. I love spreadsheets. Donald Trump's is the first guy ever whose net approval rating in the first month of his second term is higher than any rating that he had as an entire first term, Kate Baldwin. This is true. I don't make stuff up. The numbers are the numbers.
I believe you in nothing except when you have it in the wall. And then I believe everything you say.
That's exactly right.
Which is why.
Yeah, Kate Baldwin didn't want to buy it. But Trump, I would say, does seem different. This is kind of seems more disciplined as they got their feet off the ground. But the big difference is that they've learned. They've waited and they've learned. He's not naive and inexperienced this time around. And they've had a long time to think about what they were going to do. And many people have made the case that this is kind of better that he didn't just have consecutive terms where if he had, been the president in 2020 and just got to implement a bunch of stuff, because there's more time where they could sit on things and they could see how bad the other group was, and other people could experience how bad Biden and them were. And now they get to come in just lightning speed with a lot of these things, with a lot of public support behind them that he didn't have, especially going into his second term, so people have a lot of goodwill toward him and they're on the same page, especially with this immigration stuff. I don't know how old everyone is or how much they paid attention the first time around, but man, the immigration stuff was just nonstop hammering Trump and his administration every day. people, the kids in the cages, and the little photo of the little girl crying that made it on Time magazine, who was never actually separated from her mom. But it was just propaganda after propaganda, every day on the immigration issue, and people saying like, that's the number one issue why I'm not voting for Trump, because they're separating kids from their families and all this stuff. And now people are like, you know what? They really took advantage of us. We can't do this open border stuff, and we got to deport some folks. So they really made a lot of critical errors. We'll see how Democrats try to fix things. It doesn't look like they're trying to fix things right now. Some of them will say like, oh yeah, I do believe in getting rid of criminals, but what if they actually, Adam Schiff was like, but the I think the Lake and Riley Act was too broad. Like, what if you steal some toothpaste and then they're like going to deport you? Well, first of all, you came over illegally. They have every right to deport you if you're not supposed to be here in the country. But if you steal toothpaste and other stuff like that, you are stealing. You shouldn't go to. You don't want people to be deported for retail theft. Like, you think people should just be able to do that and stay here when they don't even belong in the first place? So what kind of criminals do you want to go? Just the ones who are murdering and raping people? Those are the only ones? If they're going to steal other stuff and assault and battery, like, those people should, like, where do you draw the line, sir? So, you can't really trust these folks about what they want with the border. It just seems like a lot of them do actually want open borders, and as Ben was point out on his show, because I saw the clip on his show. So you can't really trust them there. They're doing the same old, Nazi game with Elon Musk and his salute, which I just dropped an article about that. I encourage you to watch it. To read the article, and I do have like the video. The full length video was like 8 minutes of him going on the stage, and he did the "My heart goes out to you." You can hear him going like grunting as he's like trying to throw his heart out to people, and he turns around and does it the other side, and he's like, "My heart goes out to you." But even before he comes on stage, he's fist pumping like that, and just waving and he's like so energetic. He's like twirling around. And he's just moving his arms all kinds of different ways throughout the entirety of his speech. So people just zoning in like, aha, that's the Nazi part. Like, and that's all they're showing. It just, the context of everything that's going on, you're attributing that motive because you want to attribute that motive. And as I was writing the article, I recalled like, oh yeah, remember in October when they said that Trump was having a Nazi rally because he was having a rally at Madison Square Garden? Never mind that many people have rallies and all kinds of events at Madison freaking Square Garden, including Franklin D. Roosevelt. So they were trying to say that's why it was like a Nazi rally. My sister was there. She's Black. There's lots of Black people there. There are a lot of Jewish people there. Very happy to support Donald Trump, but they don't care. The left didn't care. The media didn't care. They wanted to push that it was a Nazi rally. So they're still on this train. They're still pushing that garbage because it's just who they are. And they haven't learned their lessons. Maybe they'll learn their lessons. I hope they do, because even if we lose sometime, I'd much rather have sensible people on the other side of the aisle so we don't have to feel like we're about to lose civilization every time there's a flipping election. I would like to be more comfortable about all this stuff. But hey, I guess they just want to be crazy. So cry and lose. So, cope and seethe. Keep crying, Selena Gomez, because you guys are just going to be crying and losing for a while, it seems. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today at Black Tea News. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost to stream and run my site, all the good stuff you guys can't support. I very much do appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch and stuff that I have available at the store, and stuff that I have on Amazon, like Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. My book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. You guys can check that out as well. I saw that this guy that I complain about all the time on TikTok, Dan McClellan, was on that atheist kid, philosopher kid, Alex, is it Cooper O'Connor? and talking about the abortion issue. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is so annoying because I hear him talk about it all the time, and he's a pro-choice Democrat. He doesn't talk about his political affiliations on his stuff. So I'm like, spreading more nonsense into the world. It seems like as Wes Huff, you know, you had this big shining light that was exposed to the world, and now there's this agent of darkness was trying to rise up in popularity and stuff. So I might have to watch that and just take that apart piece by piece, but I sure don't want to watch him. But anyway, you guys can check out my content on blacktnews.com, different articles, videos, and so on, and check out my books. Anyway, God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.